Dom, you ready? Are you ready?
Have I not said that? Yes, like 2 times now?
I didn't hear you.
I didn't hear it either.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think you were saying. I think you were saying it mentally.
You said it on the
Yeah,
inside,
me.
and that's what counts.
Debatable. Okay. Hold on. I think my internet's acting up a little bit.
Uh,
There we go. Okay. What's up, Internet? You're listening to the Making Geeks podcast, a podcast for makers, families, and geeks. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you doing this warm Thursday evening? Well, actually, it's warm here. I don't know what the weather is where you guys are, but it's been in the hundreds this week, and it's supposed to be the start of fall. It's nasty. Yeah,
it's just now cooling off here.
That's terrible.
yeah. Back sweat in the end of September is never appealing.
Sweat timber.
Sweat-tember. Here we go.
Yeah, it's the other day, like 2 days ago, I walked outside in the morning, get my kids ready to take them to school, and it was like 50 degrees outside, and I was like, oh, I forgot what this feels like. It's so wonderful. It made my day. And then it got like really hot, but I was like, oh, it's a start. It's a start of something.
And we're
I'm
still getting
excited for
fires here in
fall.
California, so that doesn't help our weather either.
Yeah, that'd do it.
I was outside earlier this morning at work, and it was a beautiful, blue sky, sunny day. And I came out a couple hours later, and like there was this really dark yellow tint in the sky, and I couldn't see the sun. And at first, I'm like, "Oh, great, clouds came in." No, it's just fire. And it was the only thing that blocked the sun to start making it a little bit cooler. But then the air quality got nasty. So it's either hot with the sun, or nasty air because of fires in California. That seems to be our normal operating procedure here.
It's your lot in life right now.
Yeah, and I don't even know how to distinguish fall anymore, because the leaves don't change on all the trees anymore. It's still 80, 90 degrees, and the only thing that changes is the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Enough about ranting about global warming. What have you guys been up to?
Yeah, what have you been up to, Wes? I'm terribly curious.
Oh, me? Oh, nothing much. Just
Yeah.
just got a shop upgrade. I got a Glowforge. Wait, that was not as dramatic. There it is. A Glowforge. Sitting right over there on this little table. Yeah, so I got a
That you had to,
Glowforge
like, clear a
Plus.
space for.
So you did decide to put it there.
I did, yeah. So it's on my left I have the K40, and on my right I have the Glowforge, which seems appropriate.
You're surrounded by lasers.
I know. Oh, hello. That was a mistake. Sorry, having technical difficulties here. Don't mind me. So yeah, I got a Glowforge Plus. It shipped really fast.
Now, why did you decide to go with the plus? Was it just simply because of price, or?
Well, it is the mid-tier one, and I figured if I was already spending like a certain amount, I might as well spend a little bit more for twice the speed. And I also figured that because the two people that I know that are local to me have a Glowforge, they have the basic version. It would make for somewhat of an interesting, maybe a single video, I don't know, maybe a couple videos, if I could like do a race or a comparison or something with the basics. I don't know. I had money to burn, I guess. I don't know. That's not true. I just figured I would try it out because I hadn't heard anything about that one specifically from people that I immediately know. And the coloring on it looked cooler, to be honest, I guess. I don't know. No, that's not really why. So I got it. Nicole and Turi from When Geeks Craft came by last night, and we actually unpacked it. It was sitting in the box for a couple days. I ordered a big, hefty Husky Workbench table, which I quite like their stuff.
I was going to ask you about that because I was thinking about buying one of those at one point because they're. Is that the adjustable one?
It is. Yeah, it's adjustable. It's 46
nice.
inches wide. So you've got like a couple inches on each side. It's like the perfect size. It's got 2 drawers that are like perfect for flat pack stuff. So all the materials that are already in the sheets, they fit right beneath it. It's great. And you can lower it and raise it quite a bit. I was pretty impressed with it. It's like 150 pounds, 130 pounds in the box. So that was fun to drag out of my car all the way down here by myself. But I was up for the
Oh,
challenge.
you work out for the day?
Yeah. When I was at Home Depot, I did the curbside pickup, and so the guy wheels it out, and I drive the Element, as you guys know. And so I folded up one of the back seats already, so there was like a kind of a vertical swath that it could fit through. And he's like, "Oh, I've never seen anybody fit one of these before." Like, And I'm like, "It'll fit." And we just like lift it up, whoop, not even a struggle. It just slid right in perfectly. Slam the tailgate up, slam the top part down. See ya, thanks. He's like, "Huh, all right, I guess it fit." Yeah, I put a whole treadmill in this sucker before in the box. I know it'll fit.
That's reason number 63 why I love that car.
Oh, it's such a good
I don't
car.
own one, but
Yeah.
it is one of my favorite vehicles.
I keep looking for them now.
They're so fun. The
It'd be
suicide
kind of fun
doors
if
are
all three
weird,
of us had one.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's almost like a sub maker group that have them because I think Keith Decent still he had one at some point. I don't know if he still does. I believe. And then Sarah from Wartooth Designs, she has one. And then Stephanie from Uncommon Outpost just got one. So there's like it's Paul Jackman. That's who it is. Paul Jackman has one. Not Keith Decent. So yeah, like a little subgroup of makers. It's kind of cool. But yeah,
Does Paul Jackman have like a little hole cut above the driver's seat so he could actually drive it?
He should. So the first,
I've test driven a bunch of Elements, and before I bought my Jeep, I almost got an Element, but we couldn't find one that was in good enough condition to want to buy one. But I had never ridden in the back before until we were all at Wes's place, and I didn't realize how much of like a throne seating that is, because you sit in the back and it feels like you're sitting about a foot above the people that are
Like
in the
stadium
front seat,
seating in
like
a car.
it is
like
stadium
stadium seating.
Yep.
I felt gigantic sitting
Yep.
in the back of that car.
There's like tons of
It's like,
room.
wow, this
Like
is a new
you can reach
experience.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a great car as long as it's in good enough condition. I mean, I would have one right now,
Yeah.
and not my Jeep if we had found one that was in good enough condition.
The only two
Since
downsides.
they've been off the market
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
10 years now, something
Yes.
like that.
10 exactly.
It's hard
Yep.
to find one that's
The only
good.
weird things is the suicide doors take something to get used to. Like when you're in like a tight spot, you have to get pretty good at like finagling like where you are and where your passengers are to get out. So that's kind of weird to get used to. The other thing is that I just had a complete brain fart. I don't know what's the other thing. Oh, I guess they're perfect. Never mind.
yeah, they are. I guess that was the only thing.
Yeah. Oh, and they only seat 4 people, so there's not a third seat in the back, so that can throw off some families and stuff. Every once in a while, like it would come up every once in a while for us, but we learned to calculate for it. But it can throw you off if you're not used to only having 4 seats.
Or
Yeah.
more than 2 kids.
Right.
You got the Glowforge up and running. How do you like it so far?
Yeah, I got it up and running. I've got my first cut. This is the one, which is I guess is the Hello World for a lot of people that I suggest you go through.
Yep, I got a couple of those.
It's like for the audio people listening, it's like a little measurement keychain dealio. It's got like different dowel sizes and different imperial or metric sizes. It cut pretty clean. And then I did a little Triangle Area Makers logo for our local group here just to try something else. And then I just started experimenting with other materials, which I've actually had a little bit of problems with. So I might need some advice on that. I don't know if it's like a focus issue or what. I don't know. Don't want to take up too much time on Glowforge troubleshooting. So it's red oak that I've used. It's less than a half an inch. So from my reading, it said that you can put up to a half an inch material on the crumb tray, and it should be able to focus on it. And I did the automatic focusing where it shoots a little red light and it's supposed to calculate it dynamically, but it's totally not focused. And I tried every speed and every... Yeah, I think there's some shenanigans going on.
Welcome to Glowforge.
Yeah, I'm like, so I need to do some little... I don't know if they're intentionally GIMP. This is my speculation. I haven't tested it, but I'm going to go down this like investigation rabbit hole of, do they intentionally make it squirrely with unauthorized materials to make it less appealing to want to use them? Is that something that they're doing? I don't know. I'm suspecting.
I have my suspicions too.
Yeah,
I've done some tests.
Yeah, so I've used calipers. It's less than half an inch. It should focus. Autofocus does not work on this. And so what I was going to do was like shim up another piece of wood underneath the authorized material to the same height and have it laser it and see if it looks as bad. It's not just because it's sappy. I've engraved this on another machine and I know it works. It's just super... It looks just out of focus. And...
Is it like a little sticker? Like, how does it know what is
yes,
authorized
there's a
material?
QR code that's on the sheet goods that you get out of their packs, and they're like the quote-unquote authorized proof-grade materials.
Can you, like, peel it off?
Yes.
I've cut it out and put it on other pieces of wood.
Yes, I'm considering doing that too.
Okay.
I don't know.
That seems like
it's a little
the
weird.
easiest answer.
I was just going to have the sheet good underneath and just have this in the middle and then tell it to engrave on this and have it do the little sensor on this, but I'm not sure if it'll take the sensor reading from another spot as well, because it's assuming that material is a certain thickness from, height from the bottom. I don't know if it takes that into account or the actual red dot measurement. Which one takes precedence? I'm not sure.
Well, I think that no matter what, the focus distance is about 2 inches. So the material should be at least 2 inches away from the lens, I think. If I remember correctly.
I'll investigate it.
Yep. Look forward to hearing more about that.
Yes.
It might be interesting to do like I know that we're not, close for comparison, but maybe just having the same file and both of us try engraving it with ours and maybe do a comparison that way too.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Do you have the basic, Sean?
I have the basic.
The basic?
I have the basic.
Is the mid-tier one the one that has like the feed through?
No, but I do have access. No, that's the pro. But I do have access to the pro, so I could do a pro carve too, and we could compare.
Nice.
Huh.
That'd be cool.
Yep. Donovan, what have you been up to?
Well, after a year of constantly being asked by my audience to make another Ninjago weapon, I finally caved, and I made another Ninjago weapon. I made the Sword of Sanctuary, which is a pretty iconic weapon from the series, and it gave me another excuse to play around with glow epoxy, and the molds that I showed off last week on the podcast. And so I made molds of different parts of the sword, and then I cast them in epoxy, which I found out that if I ever want to do a mold and with epoxy again, that I need to get one of those pressure cookers. Is that what they are? Where it sucks out all the air?
Pressure pot.
Yeah, pressure pot. I really need to invest in one of those because like both of my casts were so bubbly. I thought I did because I was like tapping the sides, trying to get all the bubbles up, did the blowtorch method to, pop all the bubbles as it came up. But there was thousands of bubbles in those molds. So I was like, oh, if I want to do this right next time, then I really need to get a pressure pot. But otherwise, it turned out really great. My son loves it. I think it looks pretty cool. I expected the video to perform better than it has been. It has not picked up any traction at all. I don't know if that's because none of my videos lately have picked up any traction, but maybe it will. I'm hoping it will. But other than that, my next project that I'm working on is I'm making a ramen wall in my garage, like an accent wall. Because I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast before. I took my nephew out to dinner for his birthday, and he really wanted to go to one of those fancy ramen places. And so we found one, and I took him out to dinner. And one of the walls in the ramen place was 4x4 cutoffs, like just thousands of cutoffs, all cut at different lengths. And then there was little 4x4 blocks that had like flower designs and whatnot, and there was a light behind it. And I was like, wow, that is really striking. That's really cool. I haven't seen that before, and it would be really easy. And since I have a bunch of unused 4x4s in my shop anyway, I don't have to go out and purchase materials for this, and it'd be a simple project to make an accent wall in my garage. And so I cut up all of my 4x4s into like 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch pieces, and I'm staggering the different heights all along the wall. So I'm going to have a whole wall of 4x4 cutoffs. And then in Fusion, I'm going to design a little box that I can put light pucks in, remote controlled light pucks. So I can slide them into the wall and then hit a remote and light up the wall. I don't know what designs I'm going to do for the little lights that go in this accent wall, but I'm sure it'll be like Legend of Zelda or something, knowing me. But that project is probably going to get done tomorrow and Saturday. The video for it will be out on Sunday, and then it's just trying to find other projects that I can use my scraps that I have in my shop, since my videos aren't performing well enough to fund future projects. So interesting time for me.
Very cool.
Very cool.
This last week's been pretty busy with work, of course, but my wife and I tend to have this thing where we don't use time when we have a lot of it. Instead, we try to fit everything into a time frame when we shouldn't be. So we're doing a bunch of home renovation stuff right now. We're repainting and we're getting ready to put new carpet in the house, all within our crazy schedules that we have right now, instead of doing it last summer when we should have, when we had plenty of time. So especially with holidays being pretty much close around the corner, and it looks like we're going to be hosting our big family Christmas get together at our house this year. So we have all this pressure to get things done, usually from 7 o'clock at night to 11 o'clock at night right now, and that's been a majority of our time this week. I haven't done any physical making. I've probably just done more artwork, and that's all I've been posting on Instagram. That's the only creative outlet I have right now during the day. So if anybody follows me on Instagram and you see all those little drawings, that's basically what that is. The little demos I'm doing for my class. Well, they struggle and try to draw some basic things. And yeah, I guess that's about it. That's what I've been up to.
So we're all keeping busy. That's good.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much of a shortage of that.
Nope.
No. If I was better at time management, it would probably be better, but I'm horrible at it. So tonight, I posed the question about, not question, but the idea of talking about the commercialization of DIY. Although mainstream DIY might be even like a little bit better term for it. And it's not something necessarily new, but it seems to be like just scaling, getting larger in size from year to year. And there was a story that came out yesterday that caught my attention because it said that Michael's is now reached an agreement with Glowforge. Michael's the craft and hobby shop has reached an agreement with Glowforge to start selling Glowforges out of their stores. I don't think they're going to really keep much of an inventory of them, at least right now. They said they're going to have an inventory in a couple stores, but it'll be more of a portal to showcase the machine and possibly order through Michael's, and then also eventually have like classes for how to use the laser and do different things and be creative. And if you get something into one of those stores, that you're hitting a very, very specific market market demographic. And I think it's really interesting because it's like this weird jealousy thing inside me too, where, I know what these things are, and I kind of feel like I'm on the inside track for knowing some of these things. And I kind of take a lot of pride in that. But now this could be at Michael's, it almost turns me off a little bit. So I'm wondering initially about your guys' response about Glowforge being at Michael's, but then I guess we could open it up to the bigger picture, the thing with DIY becoming more accessible to the masses and not just our unique little social media groups.
I think it's funny because I've had my plotter for a while, my little vinyl cutter, and crickets were around when I got my vinyl cutter, but they weren't as prevalent. And so one of the things that I used to do is that I would cut out decals, like car decals, like my little Baby Yoda on board, and different geek theme decals, and I would post them on Facebook Marketplace to try and make extra money. And I've had people ask me about custom orders and designs and things like that, and it's been fun. It used to be fun to try and find people to work with to come up with decals and stuff like that for their cars or notebooks or computers or whatever. But since crickets have become so prevalent, and it seems like every other person now has a cricket, that market is so flooded that I can't sell it. I couldn't even give stuff away on Facebook Marketplace, just because there are so many other people that are doing the exact same thing, that it's a race to the bottom. Like, being able to charge X amount of dollars doesn't work anymore because somebody over here who has a cricket machine that can do the same thing is charging half the price. And then person number 3 down the road that has the same machine is charging a quarter of the price because they can, because it's just a hobby for them and not a business, or trying to make something of a business. And so I worry, like, personally, hearing the news that Michael's is going to sell Glowforges, I worry that prevalence of laser cutters in people's homes, like there currently is with cricket machines, is going to make that market a race to the bottom, just like it has been with with custom decals and things like that.
Well, thinking of Michael's, when that news broke, to me it seemed like it was the perfect fit of the way I pictured the demographic that they were always shopping for, in my mind. Like when I first saw
it actually worries me a little bit.
Yeah, the first ads for Glowforge back, when they were first coming out, it seemed to be that whole Pinteresty, TLC channel kind of
Homework channel,
scrapbooking demographic, right? And it seemed like they never really deviated too much from that, even still. And so putting it in Michael seems like something they were always hoping for, at least in my mind. I don't know. It seems like a good fit from their perspective. I'm not sure if the audience will pick up on it as readily, because for a couple examples that come to mind. So Joanne Fabrics, which has similar demographics to Michael's, I would say, in the last couple of years, they started selling Polaroid 3D printers there.
It was such a fail.
Yeah, one roll of filament cost like $45, and the printer was like super expensive. It's probably one of the most expensive things they probably had there. I don't know.
It was like $600 or $700 for the stupid thing.
It was something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so it's like they were trying to fleece, no pun intended, their customers. That was a pretty good one. They went on clearance not too long after. I remember seeing ads for the filament and some local friends going to pick up like huge armfuls of filament because it was cheap or closer to normal price, I should say. It was nice to have 3D printed object hardware at a local store, though. I did like that. I always thought that was like a hole in the market that was weird. And I think at some point, didn't Home Depot carry some of the Dremel, either 3D printers or laser cutters in a limited fashion? I want to say that it did, but I don't recall. I think
I
even
think it was the 3D printer.
and even Aldi had supposedly some 3D printers, but it was definitely more hit and miss. Putting a laser cutter in Michael's, is that going to be the most expensive item that Michael sells?
Oh,
Like,
probably.
I don't know of anything that comes to mind that's maybe just a picture frame of like a baseball card. That would probably cost a little bit more because their prices are kind of exorbitant already. But I don't know. I don't really know of anything that comes to mind that would be as expensive. And is that
Some
out
of
of
their
the
sewing
price
machines
range?
are up there.
Yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, engraving or not engraving, but embroidery machines. If they even
Embroidery.
sell that sort of stuff there, I don't know. But I'm not sure. Is that $4,000 machines? Is that in the price range of somebody that would normally shop there? Maybe. Seems pretty.
I think that's
High.
I think it's why they might have like maybe one or two
Mm-hmm.
per store. I have a feeling that they're going to run clinics like they do with their embroidery and their sewing. Like, here's something that you can do. Here's something you learn how to do. And then if you want to do this at home, if you're one of the people that are doing this as a side business or something, or maybe like a retirement person that wants to do this as their retirement hobby, here you can buy one from us and we'll get the kickback. We'll get the referral kickback that a normal person would get when we buy from each other. I'm guessing. Otherwise, I don't think I can't imagine a markup in a retail location on that machine that would make it worthwhile for Michaels. You might as well just offer them the same referral deal.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Do you think it's gonna be the normal price that's on Glowforge's website, or will it be a referral discount already applied to the ones they sell at Michael's?
I would guess it would be the same,
The same as
but
what?
I think that I think that the price would be the same as you would get directly from their website. I think that there might be some other things because I also read that they're looking at selling the materials, the proof graded materials,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where you might see the bigger markup. Is possibly there.
Which is interesting because it
I
seems like
know,
they have trouble even stocking the stuff on their website as
and
it
I was just
is.
going to say that though, is that because Michael is such a huge retail chain, I'm wondering if they're going to help with the logistics of a supply chain.
Hmm.
And if that is the kind of partnership they're looking at, then I could definitely see those materials going through a markup in store. But even then, you'd only buy those materials if you had a Glowforge. And I don't see myself going to Michael's to buy proof grade materials. I will copy their QR code and paste it on something else.
Peel it off of one and put it on. Yeah.
It'd be like
Funny.
the weirdest tag swap in a retail store. I've just seen the QR codes cut out. Like, leave the material itself, just give me the QR code.
Now you know that the coupons that Michaels is notorious for, almost as much as Bed Bath and Beyond, I would say, that you always see in like all the mailers and stuff, like 50% off one item, and it has all these exclusions. The Glowforge will be in there, just like every vinyl cutter is always in there and stuff. I'm curious if the proof grade materials will also be excluded, or if they'll fall under that discount program, because then it will be advantageous to buy it there. Like I bought it's limited, but some of the Michaels around here carry like SD's model rocket stuff. And if I get like a pack or a couple packs of rocket engines from model rockets at half off, like that's better than I can get at Amazon. So every once in a while you can be kind of savvy with the coupons and get a good deal. But
If they're able to scale the production of the materials, I can see it happening. But
Sure.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a supply chain issue or a supply issue. And I don't know. They call it proof grade because they want to have some sort of consistency in the product itself. I don't know if there actually is, and I don't know enough about it, so I don't know. I know that they have supply problems, but I don't know why they're having problems. Other than everybody having supply problems right now, but they were having these problems before the pandemic even started.
So you were talking about like things that you're worried about in terms of like Glowforges being, stocked at
Yeah.
Michael's. Well, like, what are
So
you, like
so
specifically, what are
here's my
you worried
concern
about?
is that you have a lot of especially in the tech DIY space, you have a lot of startup companies that do really well. They have a great idea. They gain this huge following. But like most startups, your goal is to get bought out or IPO because you could scale your number of customers, but you're really not scaling the business at a rate that kind of makes sense for profitability. Because as a business, I don't even know if Glowforge is profitable yet. It costs money to build these machines. It costs money to build up the company, hire the people, source the materials to build this, the software, the management, the security, everything, the network infrastructure. I don't even know if they're profitable yet. So I could see them
At that price point,
yeah,
I would
yeah,
think that they would be because Glowforges are not
yeah,
cheap.
but they're also not. I mean, they're is as much as what I've said against them. They're also not using cheap materials. They're very very well made machines, and they are not cheap to make or assemble. I don't. I'm not going to pretend to guess what I know what their profit margin is on each machine, but I would almost guarantee it's still not enough to scale the business the way that they want. Because it's not just scaling production, but it's also scaling the network infrastructure, handling all the requests every time I need to send something. Although that's on them, that's their damn fault, because they're overburdening their own network by making you send it through their system. But I know they're doing it for issues of control. So my concern is this partnership with Michaels might be the first step in them getting bought out. And what I'm scared about is happening to Glowforge, what happened to MakerBot, because MakerBot was a very DIY homebrew kit that was open source and then got bought out by a bigger company and went closed source.
Are you talking about the 3D
Yeah,
printer?
the MakerBot 3D printer, one of the early, most popular ones that came out. And there's an entire documentary about the entire subject called, shoot,
It's on Netflix, yeah.
Print the Legend. It's called Print the Legend. It's on Netflix. I've seen it probably 10 times. But I worry about that with Glowforge too. And one of the reasons why I worry is because of the infrastructure that they set up already. It is really easy for them to pass more judgment on the materials that you're using and what it is that you're cutting. Will it happen? I hope not. Should it happen? No, it shouldn't. But the possibility is there, and that's kind of what scares me. Here's this thing I paid, over what $3,000-4,000 for. I'm trusting that it's going to work into the future, the way that in the same way that it does right now, because that's the agreement that. And shame on me for not reading terms of service, but this is what I expect to be consistent from here into the future and not have something change. And they've already changed a couple of things too. And I'm worried about what might be changed in the future, especially with an influence of a parent company, if and when they have one, which they probably will.
So your worries more stem from the product itself rather than the impact it's going to have on the commercialization.
No, it's both. I was mentioning
DIY.
this one specifically
Yeah.
first.
Oh, okay.
I was because what company was it? I think it was Cricket recently that made some sort of change based on their system too, where they were going to like a paid model,
Uh-huh.
and every
Subscription.
and every scrapbooker sitting at home raised their cane, and actually it wasn't like that, but luckily enough, the community outcry was enough to make them dial it back. But every company going forward is I'm trying to be fair to companies too, and how difficult it is to scale and grow a company. And I know that certain changes are going to have to be made at some point, but hopefully not at the cost of the consumers that helped it get there to begin with. I'm putting my business hat on for a second while I have this conversation.
That seems to be a recurring trend. It seems in tech news, as that the people that made the company popular in the first place are the ones that they leave behind when they, get big enough.
Yeah.
So what's your other concern? You said that's one of your concerns. What's your other concern?
The other concern is a lot more selfish in a lot of ways, and I've mentioned this like very very briefly, in one or maybe even more of our episodes over the last couple of years. But I go into Target, let's say on a weekly basis, because I have nowhere else to walk. So every now and then I'll go and walk around Target. I'll get stuck in the toy section, buy another board game that I never end up playing. But I like going around. I like going to the home section. I like seeing the decor and design changes, and it. I love seeing things that I go, oh yeah, I saw Ben Ueda do this a year ago, and now it's showing up in the stores. Or I saw Dress to do this like 5 years ago, and now it's catching on as like a design trend. And like I said, this is kind of like from a selfish point of view, where I don't feel as unique or special anymore with what I'm doing, because now the masses are kind of like catching on. I kind of want to be at the front of the charge, not feeling like I'm following behind everybody else and it's some kitschy trend.
That's legitimate. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I don't think I worry about it as much as you do.
I mean, it's not necessarily a worry. It's kind of like one of those. It's like from a very, like I said, a selfish point of view. Not that I'm out there making a lot of innovation myself, anyways. But when I started into this, it felt a lot more special and a lot more unique, and it doesn't feel that way anymore. And I have to change my mode of thinking to
stay
kind of
out
fix
in
that.
front, or just stay out. Yeah, find where the edge is now. Right. If we used to be cutting edge, then it's dulled a little bit since then. Right. So you got to find something else.
Back in the day when I could get 30,000 views on a video.
Yeah, there's a lot more DIY content to watch.
Be a lot more. Yeah, more videos for how to use your Glowforge.
Yeah, I'm seeing more and more all the time. Although that just might be my feed adjusting too. So any new Glowforge videos I want to make, I probably need to make them in the next 2 months because they're gonna get buried.
It's so funny because I swear my phone is listening to me. Because after we talked last week about Wes getting his Glowforge, the very next day on YouTube, like I pull up YouTube, and the first 3 videos out of like my 10 recommended, hey, what you should watch next, were all Glowforge. I was like, yeah, you were listening to our conversation last night, weren't you, YouTube? I see how it is. Or I might have Googled it and.
That's more likely.
And that's how it got me. Yeah.
Between Amazon and Google, I don't think I have any private thoughts anymore.
Yeah, there is. I guess I do. I can relate to that. Having the exclusivity of it. Except for me, it's more. I feel exclusivity with my CNC, because I feel like that's a tool that I have that not everybody has access to. And so I'm trying to utilize and capitalize on that as best I can in my little shop. And if CNCs ever got as popular as like Glowforges or Crickets, I would feel less exclusive in terms of the capabilities of my shop, because like I feel like I have a almost fully decked out shop, with all of the traditional tools that I have, with all the new tech that I have. Like all that kind of stuff. I feel like I have a very highly functional shop. That being said, since all of these tools are so prevalent, like half the people in my neighborhood could have a similarly functional shop.
Let me clarify something though too, because the exclusivity thing that I'm talking about is not entirely based on the tools or what I have access to, because that's simply money. That's simply having the money and the means to do that. I think the exclusivity is based more on the knowledge that I want to claim that I have, that at one time I thought was more unique, and the creations, the things that I make. Not necessarily the tools, because like I said, that's just money, and if you have the means, you can buy it. But it's the knowledge of how to use those things and how to use those things to make something creative or interesting.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, like Nicole says in the comments from When Geeks Craft, she says you just have to stay better than everybody else.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying the thing
Yep.
about leading the charge instead of following everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like
agree.
everybody's had access to paint and sculpting materials, but that didn't stop me from making a cool nursery for my son, right? So it's the same thing.
Mhm. It is.
Yeah.
It is the same thing. Yeah.
And if you want to, I mean, you could try and capitalize on this moment, especially the both of you, since both of you have Glowforges. And Sean, since you have like two different models of Glowforges, like this would be an opportunity to come out with,
I have 3 Glowforges total, actually.
all.
Well, yeah, you just
could
figure
come
all
up
the
with
people
all
that are
this-
going to be getting a new Glowforge, and they're going to be like, how the hell do I use this thing? That I was
Yeah, I
convinced to. Yeah.
Tutorials, man.
That's the
And-
other thing is that Michael's. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the classes that they offer, they're not exclusively Michael's employees that teach them. They're actually external contractors, like people like you and me, that sign up to be a teacher there, and you actually get a cut of the teaching, like tuition that people pay in to get it. So, however successful your class is, it's an incentive for you to advertise your class, and the better you do, the more you get. There's like a whole website on there. I looked it up a couple months ago. I was curious about it. So that,
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair about the entire conversation too, which is still kind of interesting, is that even with the Glowforge being as easy it is to use, it's still difficult at times. Things still do not come out right, and there's still a good amount of knowledge needed to kind of work through that. And the same thing with the CNC or 3D printer, and I mean all these things.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine how people are going to get hurt on these machines.
I don't know. I think the Glowforge, in and of itself, as far as that one machine goes, is fairly safe, relatively speaking, as long as you don't do something really dumb with it. But still, getting the desired result, but then also doing something creative with it is a challenge in and of itself.
Yeah. Given enough time, you may find, or I may find, a used Glowforge on Marketplace or something. So just can't get it to work. My loss is your gain. Maybe then I'll be able to.
It'll be
get
simply that they couldn't figure out how to connect it to Wi-Fi.
it's funny.
That process is interesting.
So here we have a strictly online company that found value in now selling it in a brick and mortar store, right? Which seems sort of opposite of a lot of other, trends where companies started brick and mortar and they realized that that's not advantageous anymore, and so they're like shrinking either the number of stores they have and doing more business online because they found that it's just interesting how it's like not exclusively one direction anymore. Like you would think radio, like if it's getting like democratization of DIY stuff is that much better, you would have thought that Radio Shack would have leaned into that more and been more of a resource in a local sense. But this is probably a management problem on their end. They leaned away from the DIY. They sort of started listening and going into that a little bit at the end, but I think they were still in the let's sell cell phones and like stupid consumer electronics and not really capitalizing on this trend. Because at the end they were like, oh look, we got Arduino stuff, and they started selling Raspberry Pi stuff, but it was very limited, and it was back in the back. The people that worked there had no idea how to use any of that stuff, let alone all the drawers of capacitors and all the other electronics components, right? But then you have companies like Adafruit and SparkFun who are online equivalents of what that little tiny section in Radio Shack was, and so it's interesting that Radio Shack couldn't have survived for various reasons, but they had a huge footprint, and I don't know, it's just weird and interesting that dichotomy of how now people are thinking there's still more value in local versus online.
There is a little bit of a retail gap, though.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's something that can be filled or should be filled, but we lost Radio Shack, we lost Fry's.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of DIY type tools that are getting spread to the masses, but there's no central location that actually can handle that market. You know, whether it's for the retail purchasing of, which is kind of hit and miss because it's so easy to order something online. But I think the purchasing of supplies and training, having that community based, might be more helpful in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, heck,
I mean,
I could,
I know makerspaces kind of fill that, but it's, you know, it's not standardized.
you can still go, at least here, you can go to Target and get a Raspberry Pi. I don't know if it's still that way for you guys, but there's like a little subsection within the
No,
electronics where they had
stopped
like,
carrying it.
they stopped carrying it for you guys?
Ugh.
For a while they had them. They had them in like the
Yeah,
little ginormous boxes that you had to get like a security thing to unlock, and they would have a couple little DIY, like they had the Kano kits, like the little keyboards and other kind of DIY tinkery kind of stuff. But
That's not how you're supposed to sell that stuff, though.
no, it's not.
I was super excited when I found out that Target was gonna carry Raspberry Pis, and when I went into Target and found them, I bought I bought everything they had in stock. I bought the little power clicker. I bought the power adapter. I bought all the motherboards that they had, and I was like, yes, like finally, like a source for Raspberry Pi that's local. But then they stopped carrying it. Actually, they kind of, I don't know if it's like Target wide, but at least here they used to have a whole aisle full of just STEM stuff.
Right.
Whether it was the Raspberry Pis or the robots or the kits, anything like that, there was a whole aisle, and now it's like one shelf mixed in with the Nintendo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They just kind of gave up on it. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
that's
I mean, the problem is that retail still treats a lot of the stuff like a toy, and I don't think that the executives really know what to do with that category of item. Because
well, it's so funny because it's like, at least here there's 3 new STEM facilities, like buildings. One associated with like the high school here, one that Fab Lab is building a brand new facility, and one that's like a smaller kind of independent one. And it's like there's obviously like a community and interest, and you would think that they would be able to cater to that, but especially since they were the only one. There's nobody else local that I could have bought a Raspberry Pi from, but now there's nobody local. I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt.
But it's just weird. Like on one hand, it is like democratized. It's getting more prevalent, but in the same, on the flip side of the coin, it seems like it's less and less. So it comes in surges, I guess. Maybe they're trying to market it in a different way now. I don't know. Like in some regards, the Raspberry Pi stuff and the STEM stuff almost should have been in like the crafting area within Target, right? Not necessarily in the toys in the games area or the electronics subsection or whatever. Like it's
they see electronics and automatically gets pigeonholed as this one thing.
right.
Like I said, the executives don't understand what to do with it.
Yeah.
And a typical retail environment probably honestly is not really right for it anyways. I kind of picture it this way. You figure like in the 1950s and 60s when people were building hot rods and really into cars and stuff, you'd have the kids hanging around the garage and eventually start working at the garage, and it becomes part of the culture. We don't have that really the same way for the maker community, at least the way I see it right now. I mean, it might be like families where you have a cousin or somebody and you learn from somebody like that, but not, I don't think the same way as community based. I think that the maker spaces are best poised for that. I just don't know how often that happens.
Right. Do you have any stuff in your school? I know your school is not necessarily representative of a lot of others of the same grade level across the country, but do you have any programs that have like microcontrollers and stuff that they use in them that are like not extracurricular things? Do you have like Arduinos and Raspberry Pis in any manner
Well, I have
as
when
part
I
of
have time
the curriculum?
when I have time within my curriculum, I do, and I've done it in the past. But
that's
still not
something
to the
you've added.
extent. Yeah, I mean, it's been within the district. So in my district, we have three primary we have three high schools, and we each have a specialty for what we do in terms of our pathways, and that's what we call those CTE pathways, career technical educations. I teach 2 of them, computer science and animation. We do have some of the electronic stuff that's integrated into some of our courses, but it still doesn't scale in and end up being the same way that I think that we would see it being useful. Part of the problem is it being tied to school and curriculum. The kids don't get to experiment and try things enough on their own. And in my area, we have a really big issue with trying to get kids interested in tech. There's like this mental block where we have trouble getting kids interested in that field. And it's something that I've been trying to figure out for the last couple of years. I'm not really sure how to change that or how to get more interest in there. It's, I mean, and to be honest, I may not even be the right person to do it, just because I'm already interested. I already have a vested interest. I tried talking to a couple other people to see if they'd come and talk and help with that, but I haven't been able to get anybody to commit to that yet. And, I think it's a problem of our area because we are a very athletic based area. Given our demographic, it's not something that's popular with our demographic. We're working hard to fix it because the jobs and availability are there, but that's one of the challenges we're trying to figure out.
I don't know. Hopefully there's. I'm not sure what the end of this story is. Like, I don't know if I want them to. I do want them to be successful, but I also, like you said, I want to maintain that exclusivity in a way. But I guess more people that can talk about it, the better. Like, it's not as. I don't know.
I mean, in a way, I just don't want the implied partnership with their current customers to change.
Sure.
Like the relationship that we have, what we expect. I, for the most part, I don't want that to change, because we don't have a whole lot of choice if something does, because we're already locked into their ecosystem.
I figure they can't get much worse than they already kind of are, because they're already like upcharging you for a basic tool, like just flipping an image in the software. You have to pay $50. You have to pay $50 a month, or like several $100s a year at the like yearly cost to be able to flip an image within their UI.
And
that's
that was my
absolutely
complaint.
ridiculous.
I'm glad you know what I was talking about now.
Well, the complaint is
What?
no, because it's already as bad as it could be. I can't imagine it getting worse than that.
No, it could get. Don't you dare say that, because you know it could be worse. You know it could be worse. And I'll tell you how it could be worse.
Just drawing a circle or drawing a rectangle and lasering that out costs $50 a month. Can you believe that? That's ridiculous.
But
Like this.
enough,
So I'm showing up the sign. I had this image of the Triangle Area Makers on my computer. I put that in there. I'm like, oh, I want to cut like a box around it. There's no tool that's free within the UI to just draw a thing. You can like find a clip art of an existing rectangle that you can drop in there, and it does like, it's like double-sided. It's not like one piece. It's super dumb. And then you can't. It's resistant to scaling in different directions because it's like a clip art that's already a thing. And so you're like, oh, let me just find a pen tool to make a vector. That is an extra feature. Like that costs extra. So it's interesting. It's interesting and a little infuriating.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So you have to have an external program just to flip it.
The defense that a lot of people have given to this, and it's up to you whether or not you want to agree with it, is that subscription and what that allows you to do is helpful for people that don't have extra tools to do that, like they don't have, or don't know how to use Inkscape, or they don't own Illustrator, or don't have the technical skills outside of the Glowforge software to do it. That cost is worth it for them. But because we have outside access to other tools, we already know how to use those other digital drawing tools, it doesn't make sense for us to do that. So that's the defense I've heard of it. And anybody listening can make up your mind of whether or not you agree with that.
So if I'm understanding this right, you can't flip an image inside the Glowforge software, but you could like do it in Inkscape and then import it into the software?
Yes.
Now,
Yeah,
wait.
okay.
So as long
Alright.
as long as the image is something you're already externally bringing into the software, let's say you drew a logo in Illustrator or Photoshop, or you downloaded SVG from a website. You can import that into the Glowforge ecosystem, which is all browser based, right? And then you have your picture of Pac-Man facing to the left. If you want to flip them to face to the right for whatever reason, let's say you wanted to burn like a stamp or something like that. In order to do that process, you can't do it within their web interface. You have to do it in your Photoshop or your Illustrator, flip it, and bring it back in again. Now, if there's a piece of clip art, now the other thing that the $50 a month gives you, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, you get a library of quote unquote millions of clip art pieces that are just like little clip art,
and that's part of the defense.
Sure,
yeah.
But even if you take that, even if you don't want to use that, the rudimentary tool flipping an image should not cost $50 a month, right? And let's say there's a clip art piece of a dog. You can't export anything that exists within their ecosystem that's their items, like their clip art library. You can't export that to do any manipulations externally to bring it back in. And there are a couple free, I think there's a couple free clip arts or something, or really low level clip art that you can do. But again, you can't manipulate that externally and bring it back in. It's locked within there. It knows that that's something that started and originated in their platform, and they don't allow you to do it. I tried it, and I got a message saying like, this is...
Wes is already trying to break it.
I'm trying... Oh, yeah, I am. Because I got to figure... I'm a tester, like, and I'm trying to figure out, like, what the limitations are for it. So it's in my nature to want to break things. So I'm interested to explore it and see what's out there. If you're listening, look for some honest review videos, because I might not be gentle with some of this. But
I'm really curious to hear what all of our listeners feel about this topic, whether it's about Glowforge directly, about the bigger conversation about certain things being mainstreamed and how that affects those of us that are either trying to make a living doing DIY, or whether it's YouTube videos, or maybe even just the enjoyment of this. So, sorry, I saw a comment in the chat that made me laugh. We'll get to that in a second. But I really like to hear from the audience about your opinions on a couple of these various things. I think it'd be interesting for kind of get like the gauge of the temperature of the audience on the topic. You guys ready to talk about what you're geeking out about this week?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Donovan, go for it.
So with our conversation at Shang-Chi, and I started tutoring Chinese again because it's a new semester. I was looking up video games, Chinese video games, and there is one. It's not going to come out probably for like another year, maybe a year and a half. But the preliminary gameplay trailer that they have for it looks amazing. It's called Black Myth, which is the story of the journey to the West with Sun Wukong, who's a monkey. He's essentially, the best way to describe him is that he is the Loki of Chinese folklore. He is the trickster, agent of chaos, kung fu, bow staff wielding Loki. But the gameplay trailer that they have for this game called Black Myth looks just incredible. It's using the new Unreal Engine, kind of like showcasing the capabilities in the new Unreal Engine. And again, the game's probably not going to be out for like another year and a half, but still, that being said, what they have developed so far looks just fantastic. And so I was geeking out watching that.
What's it called again?
Black Myth.
Black Myth. Okay. Have you, Wes? Okay. I am geeking out about. Wait, add a list here. I have kind of like a hit and miss relationship with the Muppets. Sometimes I like them. I mean, I never hate them, but sometimes I'm like, okay, whatever. And then sometimes I'm really kind of into something. I saw a trailer today for Muppets Haunted Mansion, and that looked right up my alley. I think that looks like a lot of fun. Something I would enjoy sitting down and watching with the kids. Yeah, and it looks like, I mean, from what I saw, I think it's coming out on Disney Plus. So it looks like it's going to take place in the actual Haunted Mansion. I would love it if they modify the Haunted Mansion at a certain part of the year to match up with what they're doing in the show. I think it'd also be kind of like a fun synergy type thing. But it just looked like a lot of fun. And yeah, I'll make that mine for the week.
You stole mine. the top video.
Oh,
the top video. I often, part of the little behind the scenes here, I often go to my YouTube history to see what I've most recently been watching a lot of, to see what I've been like enjoying, because sometimes I'll draw a blank. Top thing on the list is the trailer for that. I'm also excited for that.
I should have let you go first, because I had another one ready in case.
It's okay. It's okay. The other thing would be, and again, I don't know how you guys feel about this because we haven't talked about it on the podcast, but the current episode of What If, which features Thor, I loved. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was hilarious. Can't say anything else without spoiling it. Hopefully someone else out there liked it and wants to talk to me about it, because I thought it was pretty fun, including the very, very end, which is really cool.
I'll hopefully see it by tomorrow.
Yes. Including things I'm really excited about are our patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks. You guys are awesome, and girls. All of you are awesome for supporting us with your contributions every time we release an episode. Including our top patrons, Square Splinter, Clinton from C3D Prop Shop, and Jordan Ripple. Thank you guys so much for your support.
And if you'd like to talk to us directly about the show, you could do so on our website, makinggeeks.com. And we have a contact page that you can leave suggestions for the show, topic ideas, which I would love to introduce, or not introduce, but say right now, we would love to get a collection of topics of things that you would love to hear us talk about. We're trying to build a list now and plan for future episodes. So if you have an idea for the show, go ahead and send that to us. We'd love to see what that is and kind of expand our offering of topics we regularly talk about on the show. And on the homepage of our site, you can listen to all of our past episodes right there on makinggeeks.com.
And if you want to talk to Wes about all the things he loved about the most recent episode of What If, you can contact him individually.
Yes,
at
please.
Geeksmithing. Yes, please. If you want to talk to me about what I don't like about What If, surprisingly, you can reach out at Once Upon a Workbench. And if you want to talk to Sean, he could be found at Geek Builders.
You can find new episodes of the show every Saturday morning on your favorite podcast player of choice. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that was hanging out on a live chat with us. Even the people giving us a hard time about kind of bashing on the Glowforge. We appreciate you being part of the show. And everybody else just makes it a lot more fun and a little bit more interactive as we're sitting here recording and making it, so we're not, sitting here talking in our own echo chamber at times, which is how it used to feel before we started live streaming, but I definitely like this a lot better. So from all of us to all of you, we hope you have a fantastic week.
See ya.
Later, everybody.
Take care.